They talk about the boom, but do they mention the bust? The headlines scream luxury, but the numbers don't lie. It's time to look the market straight in the eye. Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope, and the range. With Peter Zalewski, the authority here, making the complex simple, making the murky clear. From the buy-side pressure to the sell-side heat, we're tracking every move on the concrete street. We got the data, the stats, the metrics you need. Beyond the flash and the glamour, we're planting the seed of truth. We analyze the trends, we map out the spread. Is it vintage charm or a money pit trap? We're looking at the analytics, closing the gap. Past performance, present shock, future prediction. Separating hard reality from the friction of fiction. No sugarcoating, no fluff, no disguise. Just the raw condo numbers right before your eyes. South Florida is shifting, the tides start to turn. If you don't know the math, you're gonna get burned. Yeah, this is the Miami Condo Exchange. Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope, and the range. With Peter Zalewski, keeping it real, digging deep in the dirt of every single deal. From the buy-side pressure to the sell-side heat, the only podcast you need on the Miami street. Hey. Real numbers, real talk. The hyperbole stops here. This is the Miami Condo Exchange, y'all.
Happy Tuesday, Miami. This is the Miami Condo Exchange, a conversation about what's going on statistically in the Tri-County, South Florida area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach counties. We're going to take a look at the condo market. We're going to be basing it on the latest update to the South Florida Condo Cliff Index. Index, something we set up back on January 1st, 2025, to coincide with all the changes that occurred as a result of the Surfside condo collapse back in June of 2021. Can you believe it? We're actually coming up on a 5-year anniversary. A lot of things are changing in condo living in South Florida. Costs are going up. It's becoming challenging. Increasingly, we're seeing sellers head for the exits, and buyers are finally getting off the couch, and they're taking advantage of some of the discounting we're seeing throughout the Tri-County area. We're going to get into all of that today. We're also going to focus on how vintage condos, those condos that are at least 30 years old, vintage condos have just hit a new record high since the index was launched again back on January 1st, 2025. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investor Club. What's the Miami Condo Exchange? It is basically a statistical analysis of the marketplace from the perspective as if we were standing or sitting or around that trading pit, that trading floor, which is ultimately the transactions, the trading of condominiums. I look at the condo market as if it is made up of commodities, not single-family houses. Those are works of art. Those are uniques. But when you get into a condo, it's rebar, it's cement, it's glass. That's pretty much all it is. Plus, there's the marketing aspect. Can a developer make a condo suddenly feel like it's special and you deserve pay more of a premium than what it's really worth? And that really is the specialty of what South Florida is all about. It's a laboratory for condominiums, the same way Silicon Valley does technology, South Florida does condos. And what we do with this podcast, we try to drill down, we try to strip away all of that and kind of give you an analysis statistically as to what's going on in the marketplace. So think of South Florida, especially East Interstate 95. Think about a trading pit back in the day, back before we had the ability to buy and sell stocks or crypto or anything else you want on your phone. Back then, you used to call your broker. Your broker would call the floor of the trading pit They'd write up an order. They'd give it to a runner. Runner would take it to the pit. Somebody would have a number on a jacket. Sometimes they were a little bit creative. They had like, I don't know, some of them had like a cow pattern on it or a bright color, just so it's sort of name brand recognition or at least facial recognition. And what they do is they would trade you in, they trade you out. When you look at condos in South Florida, that's effectively what's going on. Many of the people buying, especially Eastern Interstate 95, I would make the argument they're not buying for the family of four and a dog to live the American dream. They are looking to buy low and sell high. Inevitably, though, they buy high and they sell low. So that's an overview. Let's go ahead and get into some of our information. I should warn you, we're going to be doing a shorter episode today. Remember, I do this every Tuesday, 4 o'clock. In fact, I do a podcast, a live stream every weekday at 4 o'clock. Today's going to be cut a little bit short because we have our meetup, our final meetup of the Miami Condo Investing Club. We're doing it today. We're doing it at a place called Upper Deck over on Federal Highway and Hallandale Beach Boulevard. Everybody's invited. Come on out. You want to talk shop. You want to network. It's a cash bar. There's some discounts based on happy hour. There's free parking. If you can make it out there, we'd love to see you. We'd love to talk shop. If you can't see it, can't make it this time, watch for our updated schedule about what we're going to be doing in the summer buying season. Summer buying season is going to begin on May the 1st. It'll go from May all the way through October. Right now, we're at the end of the winter buying season, which goes from November through April. This is the time when people come to town. They come here for an event. They come here to go on a vacation. They come here to go on a cruise. While they're here, they fall in love with the area. They start contemplating, maybe I ought to buy a condo. Maybe it's an investment. Maybe I'm going to relocate. Maybe it's retirement. They start looking. By the time they get it under contract, by the time they get it financed, by the time ultimately that they're able to take down the condo, it tends to be in the summer buying season. So this is the way to look at it. Winter buying season, you shop. Summer buying season is ultimately when the deals transact. If you guys run statistics, what you'll find is Q2 and Q3 of the year, which are pretty close to the way we kind of break it down. That's when the most activity goes on. The third most active quarter is going to be Q4, Q1. Dead. Nothing's going on. Too many people are coming out of or just starting the new year. They're down here for events. They're not really transacting the same way they did in December as people were trying to get them on the board to take advantage of tax breaks. So that's what we're looking at right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at our index. We'll give you guys a quick overview about what happened, about how we set a new record high on the vintage side, the 30-year condos. Those that are 30 years or more, they fall under a greater scrutiny now because of Surfside back in June of 2021. Now, condos, every 10 years, they're getting an inspection done, a mandatory inspection by the state of Florida. Every 10 years, it's called the Structural Integrity Reserve Study. When that building hits 30 years, it's going under a more in-depth study called a milestone inspection. Regardless of what study it is, you are getting a special assessment every 10 years. I would venture to guess, count on it, book it. If it's a building that's coming up on its 30-year inspection, the vintage condos, that milestone inspection, our ballpark estimates are if that building's up to 4 stories tall, you're looking at $25,000 a door in special assessments per unit. If you are between 5 and 14, call that $65,000 special assessment. And 15 stories or higher, that's going to be $100,000. So that's a warning to you. If you're out there, you're in the market for a condo, you think you got yourself a great deal, check and see what year that building came online and check and see when they last did their inspection. Because it just might be that somebody knows it's coming. They discount the price. They kind of get out to try to beat everybody else to the market. And if you don't do your due diligence, you might end up ultimately getting stuck with having to pay the special assessment. So due diligence is, I would say, critical right now. You know what else is critical? Take that location mantra that the real estate industry uses. Throw that out the window for the time being. What you need to be focused now on is age of the building. Age of the building is going to dictate everything about an association. Why? Special assessments. Why else? Maintenance fees. Why else? Is it going to be marketable? Is anyone going to be able to go into it? I did a podcast with a lender probably 3 weeks ago or so. And you know what that lender told me? He said on some condo buildings, you got to put down 70% in order to get 30% financing. So some of these buildings are getting blacklisted, whether it's by Fannie Mae or others, simply because of the financials, because of the shape of the building, because of what it's going to take to keep these buildings afloat, if you will. And as a result of that, lenders don't really want to get in the game. If you're a buyer, that's great news, especially if you have cash. You have the ability to kind of go in. If you were a seller, you should have been bold. We told you you had the winter buying season in order to exit. If you weren't going to be able to afford this stuff. It's interesting when you look at the numbers. I'm going to show them to you momentarily. I'm going to show you some line charts. Interesting if you look at the numbers, what you're going to find is November, December, we were kind of flat. Why? Because we had special assessments. We had the budgets for 2026. They were all getting approved. Everything kicked in January. Once it kicked in January, remember, 2026, state of Florida is now mandating that whatever these inspection reports say, and remember, they had to be done, and they had to be done by licensed architects, licensed engineers, and there's something called a reserve specialist. It's basically somebody who kind of learned the trade or learned the business along the way. But anyways, whatever these people say, these licensed engineers, these licensed architects, and what now has to happen is a condo association, a board, they need to adopt this study, and more importantly, they need to earmark cash to pay for everything that's been laid out. Now, they got two ways of paying for it. One, they go ahead and hit everybody with special assessment. That special assessment's typically a year. If you don't pay, condo association can move the foreclose on you. And two, the other alternative is they go to private lenders. Private lenders will finance some of these condos for the construction work. Problem is they're charging interest rates of 9, 10, 11%, which is very expensive money. Mortgages are already somewhat expensive, at least by recent standards, coming in somewhere in the ballpark between 6.3 and 6.5 for a 30-year fix. Now you look at some of this construction financing that's going on from private lenders, because some banks don't want to touch it, coming in north of 9%. So as you can see, the cost of condo living has gone up, and with it going up, some people have been there for quite some time. Maybe they're on a fixed income. They are heading for the exits. Some of them have finally listened to us, what we've been telling them going into this winter buying season of November to April. Some of them held off. They thought that they, their kid was on the honor roll. The other kid was great at soccer. The significant other was good looking. They lived in the best house on the block. They owned the best condo. They had the best view. Well, many of them had a religious moment where suddenly they were like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of this type of thing. Once it dawned upon them that they might be a little bit jammed up, some of them started to cut. And what you're doing is, because of the cuts, you're seeing buyers who've been sitting on the couch or they've been doing what they're doing. They're saying, this might actually be interesting. And they're starting to step forward and they're starting to take advantage of it. The question is, how much longer is it going to go? We're going to show you the line charts right now, and we'll kind of walk you through it. Then we'll go ahead and we'll give you a real quick glimpse as to what's happening in terms of active listings, pending sales. Because remember, with our index, what we're tracking week over week over week is active listings and pending sales. We're looking at them proportionally. If pending sales go up and active listings go down, the index will strengthen. If active listings go up and pending sales come down, the index will fall. So the way to look at this index is, as it goes up, that means it's better for sellers. As the index goes down, that means it's better for buyers. And just a little hint, in case you're looking for a deal, Broward County is where you want to be. Which is the strongest market? Palm Beach County. Where's Miami-Dade County? It's kind of flailing. Miami-Dade County is suddenly starting to flail. I don't know if it has to do with what's going on with our immigration. I don't know if it has to do with, what the policy is. If you looked at Miami International Airport traffic in 2025, it was actually down. It was down about 1.25%. It's only the fourth time in more than 20 years that it's fell. When was the last time it fell? The pandemic. When else did it fall? Right after Lehman Brothers fell. So it typically falls when something big is going on, generally speaking, because it had to be grow. And we were coming into 2025. Expectations were 8.5% growth at Miami International Airport. It would have been the third year in a row. But instead, we contracted 1.25%. And what does that mean? That means maybe Miami's too expensive. It also means maybe people don't want to come here and spend their money because they're afraid they might get picked up by some guys with masks and thrown in a pop-up detention center on 8th Street, about 50 miles due west of Brickell City Center, and about 50.5 miles west of where the Mandarin Oriental Hotel just went down over the weekend. I'm sure you guys all saw all kind of attention related to that on Brickell Key. They took that damn thing down. They're going to be putting up 2 towers, or so they say. Should be coming online somewhere in 2030s or so, at least according to the projections. So we'll have to see how that goes. So let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. Like I said, we're going to make this one a little bit short because I got to run out to our meetup. Meetup starts at 6 o'clock. If anybody wants to attend, Upper Deck on Federal Highway and Hallandale Beach Boulevard. Let me go ahead and share my screen really quick. And here we go. And let me just sort this out. Bear with me 1 second. And here we go. All right, let's get into it real quick. By the way, we do walking tours and bus tours every Saturday. We have a walking tour this Saturday, the Brickell Avenue area. If anybody's interested, come on out. It's a 3-hour tour. Walk about 4 miles. I give you a list of all the condo projects that exist within that Brickell Avenue area, which would be the Miami River south to the Rickenbacker Causeway. Then it'll be Biscayne Bay west to Interstate 95. We're going to walk around. We'll go past the Mandarin Oriental site. We'll talk about it. You know what else we're going to go by? We're going to go by the Mercedes-Benz condo project that's now in foreclosure. $80 million foreclosure according to South Florida Business Journal. We're going to walk past that site. You guys can assess the quality of the site. I called it a C-. Some people said it was a great location. We'll see. Basically, it's in foreclosure. We're going to walk past that. We're going to name names. We're going to tell you what's going on in the condo market. We'll teach you how to analyze condo buildings to figure out if they make sense or if they don't make sense. So if you do want to do that tour of Brickell Avenue area, this is the final tour of the winter buying season. We will be doing tours in the summer, but it's going to be a little bit less predictable. It'll be more occasional and sporadic. So I'd encourage everybody to check it out. You can get information on a tour. Go to miamicondo.club or go directly to the ticketing agency, which is miamicondoclub.eventbrite.com. So Eventbrite is a ticketing agency, and in order to get there, to book a ticket, miamicondoclub.eventbrite.com. So let's go ahead. We'll scroll down the screen real quick. If anybody's interested in joining the club, we're building a community of those who are interested in condo information. Maybe the real estate information they put out there is a little bit too rosy for you. Maybe you're not necessarily a Chamber of Commerce type and you're looking for hard data. That's basically what we've been doing. We do and what we've been doing. We just celebrated 20 years with my sister company called Condo Vultures. Basically, 20 years ago, we set up a company. We modeled the market, and then we used that information against sellers to be able to take advantage and get deep discounts, especially from developers. So been doing it for 20 years. We're tracking this information. We lay it out cold. Not everybody likes it, especially the sell side people. But if you are looking for information related to the TD condo market, I encourage you consider joining the club, Miami Condo Investing Club. You can get information, miamicondo.club. We'll continue onward. Anybody out there looking for a vintage condo? My partner, Jenny Hortis from CVR Realty, she's got a vintage condo team. Remember, vintage condos are 30 years old or older. You can get her at cvrrealty.com. Continuing on, listing agents. Some of you might be out there, you got a listing, you haven't been able to sell it, and statistics are showing not a lot of people are able to sell this stuff. If you're not able to sell it, you're trying to get a real assessment of what's going on in the marketplace, join the club. We'll share the information with you. A lot of stuff you see on our site, miamicondo.club. There'll be a paywall. All of the information, the information that we're collecting, we're publishing, we share it all behind a paywall. So that's something worth considering. And also, too, related to the club, I do a monthly meeting on the second Wednesday of every month. I do it at noon until about 1:15. I tell you where we are, I tell you where we were, and I give you my projection as to where we're going. We've been pretty good lately about making calls, especially on this winter buying season. Our base case is pretty much played out to a T. And the Mercedes-Benz foreclosure on that tower in the Brickell Avenue area, that just sort of topped it off. That was a cherry on top, basically. So let's continue on. And podcasts every weekday, 4 o'clock. I'm doing a live stream. We're always talking condos. Mondays are Miami Condo Monday with my partner, Jenny Wirtz of CBR Realty. Tuesday, Miami Condo Exchange. Wednesday, the Peter Zalewski Show. I do a podcast with somebody I think you need to know. Thursday is distress. We talk distress condo market. Friday, I wrap it up with a bull versus bear discussion about 5 key topics in the South Florida real estate market with a guy called Daniel Hernandez over at Compass Real Estate. So we go back and forth. A lot of people sort of enjoy it. So that's that. And then we got our Miami Condo Cliff Index, which again started on January 1st, 2025. It is tracking active listings pending sales. What is the premise? What is the idea of the index? Well, many of you will look at closed sales data. And closed sales data is great, but it tells you where we were. Just like unemployment numbers, they tell you where we were. If you take a look at the indices and what's going on Wall Street, that's telling you kind of where we're going. Typically, they say the indices will forecast 6 months in the future, and the unemployment data will tell you 6 months behind. What we did is we created up an index in order to track active listings and pending sales in order to get a gauge, to get a sense of what's going to be closing sometime in the future. Are active listings growing faster than pending sales? Are pending sales growing more faster than active listings? How does it all shape out? And that's what we're tracking. And that's why we were able to predict when the real estate industry just reported that sales were up. We already saw it coming because we were tracking it week over week over week. And this is the chart that's going to show you how we were tracking it. There you go, everybody. You can see it. You can see our chart. We began on January 1st, 2025. We're coming into this period where, Vicki Lopez, she's now a county commissioner in Miami-Dade County. She had been a state rep. She said, do not buy a condo till 2026. She made that projection. And after she made that projection, we really started digging in. We really started looking at the data. And you know what? We agreed with her. And looking at the indicators, so did the market. If you guys see what happened back in January 1st, 2025, we had a little bit of a run up, roughly a little bit about a year ago or so. Then we came down. We were scraping along the bottom. Ultimately, we get close to November, December, right as the winter buying season is beginning, and nobody's doing anything. So the market starts going down. You got increased listings, you got a falling pending sales, and then suddenly you go over into 2026, the brand new budgets kick in, and you know what happens? Sellers realize they're not going to be able to afford it. They realize that if they want to get out, best time to get out is now. A lot of times when you get into a market that's starting to unravel, the best time to get out is early, because if you stick around and you kind of wait it out, before you know it, all the other rats on the ship, they're all fleeing as well, and then it gets into what's called a doom loop. Remember, 4 transactions on the board in a building will reprice the entire building. That's what a commercial real estate appraiser told me. So 4 deals, everything changes in your building, and now it's like the game of Tetris. Does it all go down? Now, if interest rates were low, if the economy was humming, if we didn't have a war going on with Iran, if fuel costs were, let's say $2 a gallon cheaper, at least $1 a gallon cheaper. Take us back to where we were on February 27th before we launched that attack on Iran. Might be a little bit of a different story, but that's not what we're necessarily dealing with today, and nobody really knows what the future is going to go forward. And keep in mind, if you're hoping to sell a condo this summer, June, July, we got the FIFA World Cup. How many people are going to be paying attention to real estate? But how many people are going to be paying attention to football or soccer? Miami's hosting some matches here, so we don't know what to expect. I would venture to guess people might be kicking the tires. They're not really going to be doing a deal. Then you get into August. What happens in August? Well, when you get into August, you got people going on vacations. They're taking their kids on vacation before school goes back at the second half of August, typically a dead month. That's the time